Lady, that future gal, that a shower was coming our way. It must have took a huge. Guys, how you doing? There you go.
Yeah, but I mean, you have to. I didn't know what was
All right, guys, we're gonna go ahead and get started. It's right here at 6. We've got 4 members present tonight, and we have the 5th member present via FaceTime, so we do have a full board here tonight. So, if we could at this time stand for invocation, Mr. Curley.
Would please bow. Dear most holy heavenly Father, we thank you for each and every blessing that you've given us. We especially thank you, dear Lord, for the blessing of your Son, our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, through whom you made all things possible. Thank you, Father, for loving us. Please know how much we love you. Father, we ask on this night that you please bless us with the wisdom we need, that we're able to make a decision on whatever's on our agenda tonight. It's in the best interest of the students, teachers, and staff of our school system, and that once those decisions are made, that they be for the betterment of all involved. Thank you, Father, for loving us. Please be with us in all that we do. For it's in Christ's name that we pray. Amen.
Charlie, would you lead us in the prayer and our pledge?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. We are going to, at this time, offer an invitation. Anyone who would like to speak to an item on the agenda to come and sign in at this point. If you would like to come forward and just sign in here. All right. Got everybody? Thank you for signing in. Thank you guys for all being here. We will get on with our agenda for the evening. We actually at first need a motion to approve our agenda for the evening. Uh-oh, let's get a wrong button. Hold on a minute.
Technical difficulty.
Everybody's present.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm ready.
All right, Ms. McGowan makes the motion to approve our agenda for the evening. Do I have a second, please? Mr. Drew will second. So all in favor, say aye. So carries. All right, then we have our consent agenda. We had our work session the other night, went over all of our items on our consent agenda. If no one has anything to pull there, we need a motion then to approve our consent agenda for the evening. Mr. Kerr, would you can say? Mr. Kerr made the motion. Ms. McGowan, you want to second that?
Yes,
All right, so we got our motion and second. All in favor say aye. Aye. So carries, all right. So we'll move on then with the principal's report at this time. Ms. Badru, you want to come?
I thought Ms. Dickinson, it was her turn to go.
Yes, you're right. She's making me go first. We always let elementary, then middle, then high school, and they still freeze his thunder.
Yeah, they do, they tell it,
They do. So we're gonna let Teresa go. Okay.
Schedules are ready for the virtual and the at school students, and Tina's presently putting those in Power School. We will be able to hand those out on the Thursday and Friday of registration, whichever day your child is slated to come. All students entering the building on Thursday morning would go directly to homeroom. Now, the freshmen would be the only one that don't know their homeroom, so we're gonna have a table set up outside with 5 teachers. They will let them sign in and escort them to a homeroom, because they haven't been in our buildings, and I don't want them to feel ill at ease. Teachers, once they're in homeroom, then I want my freshman teachers, one group at a time, so it should be no more than 14 or 15 at the social distance. They'll actually tour the building, so the freshmen will know where everything is. Chromebooks will be distributed on Thursday and Friday with the form. We're also going to put the form online. If you want to download the form for your student, fill it out with your name and their name. Turn that in on Thursday and Friday because we're ready to get out the Chromebooks. Students will wear masks upon entering the building because we can't social distance completely in the hallway. There'll be more people. But once they're inside the classroom, they're at their designated desks. They are 5 to 6 feet apart. We can get 15 desks in the rooms at the high school and be socially distanced. They can take their mask off. If they want to keep it on, they're welcome to keep it on. We're going to have arrows on the lockers and on the concrete walls showing the direction. If you're walking this way, you're going to stay on the right side of the hall. If you're walking on that side, you're going to stay on the right side, or your right hand could always touch the wall. The transitions will be 5 minutes. So we will do the bathroom breaks during class, and your child will not be denied going to the bathroom. Do not worry about that. They will go one at a time, but we can monitor a little better. Breakfast is served in homeroom as usual. They always have breakfast in the classroom during their homeroom time. Lunch will be brought to the classrooms during third block, and they will eat in the classroom during that time. Let's see. In the morning in homeroom, they will answer the 5 health questions on a Google Doc, and that will go straight to my nurse. My nurse will screen those, and if she needs to pull anyone out, she will and talk to them at that time. Let's see. We will not be using lockers because that would cause a traffic situation in the hallway, so they will need a backpack. But most of our courses are online. They're not carrying around real heavy books. Academically, we're going to continue to use the same high-quality curriculum as usual. Our teachers have worked all summer. The teachers have worked in Google Classroom with Toby and Jennifer with extensive help over the summer. They're ready to start Google Classroom. A lot of our teachers use Google Classroom this past year, so the kids know some about it already. Grades will continue to be posted on PowerSchool. Your student can get you on Google Classroom and check assignments on there, so you'll know what they are doing. The majority of instruction will be at school. We don't want a lot of new material going home on the days off when you're not there. We don't expect you to teach your kids. You don't want teachers to do that. I heard someone ask on Tuesday night about ACT. We are prepping seniors. The moment you start back in here in July, you're going to start ACT prep in your English class, your math class, and if you have a science class. Juniors are in an ACT class just like they were last year. The first ACT test date that will be given here, we hope, is September 22nd to all my seniors. And it is free of charge, but you do have to take it here. ACT will not allow it remotely. And I picked the September date. I think I had a choice between September and October. I chose September so that they can take it again before Christmas. But you can take it again in October, and you can take it again in December. And your guidance office will make sure that your senior knows all these dates. Chromebooks, we have discovered, will work offline. So they can, if you don't have Wi-Fi at home, your student could download their work here at school, take it home, open it back up, work on it, and then when they got near Wi-Fi the next time, it would submit. Now, we're going to have to lag on attendance because we have to take attendance all 5 days of the week. So if they're not here, they're either going to be checking in with Google Classroom, possibly Google Meets, possibly an email, possibly they're just turning in an assignment. But we'll let the attendance lag a little bit to make sure that we have been in touch with every student.
That was a question the other night.
Right.
How they would be counted, we requested that they be counted for us.
I also have already made a list of office hours for every teacher in my building that you could get in touch with me. Or you can leave a message with my secretary on Saturday morning and they will call you back at a designated time. So we want to be as available as possible. This is going to be a difficult task for my teachers to do at school and at home teaching. But they've done an amazing job this summer in learning how to do it. And I met with my department heads yesterday morning, and they were very positive about it. You know, do I love the situation? No, but I would much rather see your kid 2 days a week than not see them at home. And I'm afraid that's where we're headed if the virus gets worse. Y'all have any questions? You guys have any questions on this?
I y'all been working hard.
Very hard. I mean, we didn't just start this. We've been doing it all June and July, and it is overwhelming. But I think we can make it work. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right. Mr. McCall, you want to go ahead?
What I'm saying, I would like to.
Wait a minute.
Okay, just one thing. If they have like, instead of the Chromebook, if they wanted to bring their own laptop to download, or their laptop.
Yes, we would love for them to have their own device, but they'll take more care of it. That'd be great.
Again, a lot of conversations, like towards race association, getting stuff here. In terms of, we're going to build school, this summer, number one, we focus on a new schedule. It's going to look a lot different than the last couple of years. We're focused on safety of our students, staff, and we're changing instruction. In terms of health and safety, also reduce size in classroom, minimize mask wearing in class, minimizing some transitions, like Teresa said, and then overlap cohorts. A lot of times, if we do have issues with trace, we have to build some minimize it, we have to build all the time. What that does basically streamline bathroom usage. We might not necessarily 5 minute breaks, but every teacher will have a 15 or 20 minute gap every period where they can't use the bathroom. If it's in the rain, they'll have that. It'll be isolated to a certain area of the building. Lunch, will be in the classrooms. And then, sort of like Drew said, I'm not allowed backpacks or any backpacks in class in the last couple of years. Yeah.
Not everybody can share, so just to think of maybe.
But obviously the lockers and three bags will be different. My school built 1953, so our halls are really small. The lockers are going to issue because it gets really compacted. So we're going to allow backpacks, athletic bags in the class, which I haven't done the last couple of years, just because of the stuff we have around and not moving students usually do. In terms of instruction, what associated will do with maximize teacher interaction with students, be very simplified, but focus on small group interaction with the teacher, because we're going to maximize those learning from home days. There'll be components, we talked about this week to increase time to stay students, close those gaps. They have some issues, those teachers will be available more often throughout that week. And then PE every day, the social emotional state of students, they need to be active, not have every day they're out learning from the school day. During construction this summer, also I noticed we do a classroom, learning management system, trying to integrate all those aspects, through classroom, sheets, docs, etc., into our instruction. And then, like Teresa said, equity thinks we all don't have internet. I live in the Providence community, don't have great internet at all. So we'll make sure that when we give our students Chromebooks, they have an offline component that teachers can download when they're at school. So they'll have access to instructional pieces that will help them even if they don't have internet. And then integrating instructional technologies that are simple for students to use, that they will have that ability with their Chromebooks. In terms of the day, we work with our teachers and small groups today in my building. The next 3 days, the next first small group is going to be in person. That's we've done it for a long time. But the focus on our district goals, that's to return to school on time, to be flexible with our instruction, our technology. We implement distance learning, we can slip back to school when that time comes. But just be flexible with what we can do. The development of our virtual students was very important as we go this year to honor those virtual students. Those parents want to keep their kids at home. We want to make sure that they're getting a great educational opportunity with their teacher of record that can help them. So we're really sort of finding that plan to benefit them. And then working on our expectations for our teachers for a learning from home day and a learning from school day. Because every day is like 5 days of school in terms of students learning. In terms of my building right now, facilities, they go with her up, E-system, is awesome. We've run through simple law, push button for safety, for teachers, all those other things that somebody lost. Follow there in the building field, so it's important safety for all three. And so, research and forward is awesome. New touch water fountains, gives access to all 3 grade levels, so they have good water fountain. I think we're going to right now get into the law if they want it. Sports wise, volleyball is going in groups of 10. And small group this summer with volleyball. It's been great. She's got more interaction with her players on a smaller level. Before that season starts, we're going up. Football kicks off July 30th, and we'll start 2 days of impact days. And we're excited about Coach Ritter coming back out there, back with us. Going to be coaching after the season. So you're going to that. So he'll be the head coach, and Kyle Will Memphis will do a great job. So we're excited about him. That's for our guys. Questions?
Anybody have any questions for?
I just have a quick question for the children coming into the 6th grade that never had a student for that before. I don't know if they usually do some sort of transition walk through. What's their first day?
That's a great question. Generally, in the past, we do a transition day. So we bring our students over from 5th grade, take them over and sort of acclimate to a day in middle school. K through 12, I think this is the toughest transition for any student. Because it's the first time generally here, they go to the next school. So we want to sort of ease them into that and just, that's not what they're worried about. They're worried about seeing their parents and things like that. That's something we'll reach out to our parents next week to try to make this type of orientation.
So when they come in the first days, there are certain areas that they're going to go to, because you go to homeroom in high school, most of those are first right there, the sixth grade.
Students will have teachers that will walk into the street. And we, ideally, we'll have some type of orientation, like parents, when school starts, we're bringing in people to the building, and meet the staff, et cetera. Question? What else?
Anybody else have any other questions for Mr. McCollum? Thank you. All right, Ms. Drew with our elementary school.
I would like to say I like the class.
You like what?
I like the class.
You do?
Usually I'm the first one on the room. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Can everybody hear me? I'm a little louder. We have been super busy at the elementary school, and our summer focus has been scheduling. We have taken a look at our schedule and turned it basically upside down. So what we're used to seeing, we no longer are going to see. We've also been looking at social distancing. We've taken our classes and we've tried to see how many desks we could get in our classrooms. And as we got to the older grades, we realized that we were really having some issues social distancing in those classrooms, and it's the size of the desk. So Mr. McCall, as he's social distancing, has been gracious enough to share some desks with us so that we can get smaller desks and get more students. So we are working on that. We're working on removing our rugs so that we usually do our read aloud and our kids time, it's on the rug, Chris contacts off, we have rental time, and we're removing those because it's difficult to clean. So we are getting rid of lockers, and we're working on not sharing items. So even our supply list, I know there was a little lag. Usually we have those supply lists up in May. We're ready to roll with those supply lists. We took a look at the supply list that we had and wanted to make sure in our present situation that we have the most meaningful supplies. So we got rid of what we could do without and just got to the bare minimum. And that also meant that we still want our kids to participate in art, but we can't share crayons, and we can't share markers, and we can't share scissors. So we have now an art bag so that we can still have these things without sharing items. At the elementary school, we will be checking temperatures each day, K through 5. And when we talked about this, and we know that that will take a little bit of time, but that was easier than asking those 5 questions to some kiddos. What does that even mean? So that was the best for the elementary school. I know there are tons of questions. Oh my gosh, am I gonna have to teach my kiddo? We are looking at, in our schedule, creating time to do 2 ELA lessons. That's in the foundational schools, in grades K through 2. That's where kids are learning to read. It is super, super important that they have those foundational skills. Many parents don't want to teach foundational skills. Absolutely, and we're gonna do it. So that worry is taken off of parents. So we will have 2 foundational skills lessons, and we will have our math lesson. We are also going to put read aloud lessons on our websites. And I know many of our teachers in first grade did that last year when we were out for the extended break. We are doing the read aloud lessons so that those kiddos, any kiddo, can access it. We're also doing those read aloud lessons at school. So if you don't get it one time, you can get it another time, you can go in depth, but they will have 2 foundational skills lessons in person. When they are learning from home, it will be more of practice. It's not the hard work is taken off the parents and our teachers are doing it when we have our kiddos face to face. I don't know who my teacher is. I don't know who my kiddo is. I know, I'm so sorry. I am so sorry. And this is what happens. I start out in the classroom, and then I have 5 kiddos in grade level that are going virtual. So then I have to take all those kiddos out, and then I have to redistribute the numbers, because I'm trying to keep them as small as possible. Then I have another group. I think I have it, and I have another group. Take those kiddos out, and I think I have it, and it starts again. So we are working on it. I promise we are working on it. I'm trying to see. On some days, I may have 14 kiddos that are going to come in, and some days I may have 6, depending on the alphabet and where you go in the classroom. I would like to level that out. But if some kiddos are going virtual, I don't want to call you and say, "Do you have time to move you so that my numbers are balanced?" Wait, if I'm back. No, never mind, just forget that. So I'm trying to wait until we get a little closer so that I have a better look. We are, working on kindergarten orientation. Usually, our kindergarten parents and kiddos come in, they get to tour the building, because they never been there. They don't know us. And now I'm going to have on a mask, and I'm asking, "Come on, baby, come with me." So that's a little different. So we're looking at doing a kindergarten orientation outside by class. We're looking at Monday, the 27th. We're looking at doing 3 classes on Monday. Then on Tuesday, we're looking at 2 classes. So we're looking at like 5 to 5:45, 6 to 6:45, 7 to 7:45. And with that gives us time to meet with the teacher. Kindergarten kiddos will get to see who their teacher is, and then we can get back on that and start another group. And I'm trying to even put the virtual teacher in there so that that may be a smaller group, so it gives us a little more time to transition. So keep looking for that. More info will come. I don't even know who my kindergarten teacher is. They're going to call. So just hang in there with us. You will receive a call from your kindergarten teacher so that you know about the orientation and you know which neighborhood. Hopefully that will help ease some of those jitters. As far as transitioning into school, our 5th graders, I'm looking at teams of 2 teachers, so the teachers will move and not the kiddos. I know that was, the kiddos love moving, going from class to class, having different teachers. They will still have different teachers for different classes, but the teachers will do the moving as opposed to the students. And let's see, I think that's pretty much everything for me. Any questions?
Do you have questions for Mr. Drew? Got one of them.
Yes, my little one's going first grade. They said that they come home, there won't be really that much homework or whatever. I do have Wi-Fi, I don't have a laptop or a computer. I don't know if I've been able to get a 4K TV in order to pull stuff up. How would I be able to do that?
You don't have to pull it up. Everything that we do, we are using paper pencil. So we are going to provide you with the workbooks, and it won't necessarily be all of them at the same time. We will tear them out and send them home as we need them. But we will also have them, if something happens that we're going to have to be out for an extended amount of time, we can send those early so that we can still work with the kiddos. But we are going to do paper pencil, but we are still going to post the read alouds just on the website, just like we did last year, just to get some extra extra report.
About it, gonna be a good grade. One concern is, I was told that I had to do, if I wanted her in virtual, that all that I had to start, that I had to sign up, I would rather have her in school. How's the busing thing going? You know, I live way out in the country, you know, and I have to travel a small distance in order to get on the bus. Will the bus driver get in contact, would let us know which route, which way we're going? If she does this 2 days, if she, you know, you said that there's going to be no luggage, will she be allowed to take her backpack with her wherever she goes?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Transportation, I cannot speak to transportation. I can only get one place. But I am sure there will
Mr.
be.
Drew, I need to help.
Okay.
I'm sorry, the internet thing, I'm sorry. And we do have the internet on her tablet. On the 3 days that she's off, can she bring her tablet in, download the stuff, and be able to do that on her tablet?
Yes, but with all grade levels, what I have tried to do with our schedule is to make it so when your kiddos are at home learning, they're learning from home, they are working on science and social studies. They are reading. They are doing things that you will. I'm taking the crux of it. I am digging into the number lines and those things. You won't have to do these things.
But we do virtual, and I have to make sure that she has the internet.
Yes, you will have to make sure she has the internet. Yes, those things, but your virtual teacher will instruct her every single day.
Right, there is an internet. I'm sorry, I just,
Yeah, I can help you. I can just a little bit on the transportation. We are presently taking the class rosters from each one of the schools, because those schools are going to fit in that Monday, Thursday, Tuesday, Friday category, and then the optional Wednesday. So we're developing those lists. Transportation is working with those. They feel very comfortable. Talking to transportation director today, feel like that's moving really well. We met with our bus drivers a couple of times. What we'll do, you'll know which school you're going by the last thing, right? So you know. So the main thing is you're either going on the 30th or you're going on the 31st. And we're going to run those bus routes the whole route. So if you'll check our internet as we get ready for the opening of school, we're going to give you an estimated time of arrival. And we don't know exactly each bus stop, but we know when we go down the road, we know about what time we're going to town. And then we ask you to be there 10 minutes before that time, and also be patient and wait for us 10 minutes after. So you've got a 20-minute window to be picked up. Then after a few days and weeks, when we know who's riding, then we'll be into a routine. Of course, that bus route can be really affected by who rides and who does and who changes, you know, so just
she
be.
usually gets on the bus at 6 o'clock in the morning. So, you know, I mean, me being a single mom, it's hard for me to, because I have to get work at 6:30, so I'm trying to make sure how this all is.
We'll publish those routes, and, you know, in the next, you know, before school starts. We're still making it cake, so to speak. But, and then if you have questions, you get a little anxious, don't call me Monday, because we don't have it ready. But if you're a little anxious, call our office, and we'll get your answer. Thank you.
Go ahead. We're gonna drop off the bus back there.
Yes, yes. As a matter of fact, we kind of anticipated that families may want to transport their own children more when they could. So we as principals, we have talked about that we may have along the lines, and I know Mr. McCall is working on having different drop-off places other than just one. But our principals are planning for that. And as you know, as we start, you know, we may see some things that we have to change. And so it's good to see everybody here. you know, so we can work together to, get our kids in school and keep them healthy and keep them in school and in quality education. That's what we're all about.
I'll get you your number.
What's that?
Might pick up, I'll get back to you shortly.
I was let me write that
Hey, I just lost, I forgot.
down. I got it. I think we have another question, Ms. Badru, over this way.
Okay, my grandson, he's gonna be, yes, second grade, in the first grade. He's special needs. And, from what I understand, he lost his teacher. And stuff, and I'm just wondering, is it gonna work the same, you talk about his principal or special needs class? He wants more attention. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
It makes perfect sense. And that has been considered. And there may be some areas that I may be able to service kiddos every day. Bring him in every day. So that is there's a plan. There is a plan for
We
you.
didn't know, so my daughter sent me down here to find it. Also, one more question. What about their, senior special people who used to come out for, spelling or whatever?
Yes, sir, yes. We still have OT, PT, speech. We are still providing those services. For some of my kiddos will come in on Wednesdays. Those Wednesdays at the elementary school, I'm still going to have a ton of kids at the elementary school on Wednesday. And I'm trying to service as many as I possibly can. But with that in mind, I am trying to keep the cohort small because I don't want to do all of this work, getting the kids separated and then just throw them all together and they're just gonna have a grand old time. So I am trying to be strategic in the places in the building that I put kiddos. We will have a schedule and it's individualized. But that learn from school day on Wednesday is not something extra. So don't expect your kids to then bring home, oh my gosh, it's a punishment to go on Wednesdays because I have a ton of work in addition to what I already have. So it's very structured, but it's to support our kids.
But because my grandson has state structure.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Since all this happened, it's
Yes,
been a whole different world.
and his teacher was torn up because she didn't want to leave, but
I know.
her husband
I understand.
had a job and
You know,
I do. Oh, she's torn up. She misses her baby.
He said that was his favorite.
Absolutely. But we've got it.
Y'all got it.
We've got it.
What about this? We had a assistant, and she said she wasn't coming back because y'all didn't need her or something, I don't know. Did she come back as assistant or something else? So what, is she gonna get a different assistant?
Yes.
When he's already adjusted to her?
Possibly, there's a lot of movement when it goes, and I can't always control the movement. So I will do the best that I can. I am really big on structure and routines and helping kiddos to adjust. I know it's an adjustment and we will keep those needs in mind.
Okay,
Any other questions?
it's gonna be all right.
He is going to
He's
be,
going to
it's going to be an adjustment because kiddos are used to being at home with mom and dad or sisters so it's going to be an adjustment. But sometimes when we just come and get them, they learn that if I try, we're going to take care of it. It's okay. It's okay.
That's just me.
That's okay. That is okay.
Right here is a question right here. In the back.
The schoolwork that is being sent home is practice. Is that being graded?
My teachers are looking at it, giving the kiddos feedback. Now, it's different from the spring because if the state comes in and says, hey, don't worry about it. Just do it if you want to, it's optional. Our expectation is that our kiddos do it. Right. That is our expectation. But our teachers are looking at it, they are giving those kiddos feedback.
My thing is that like the math and the stuff that you guys are learning now, completely different than the stuff that we learned. So if I can do it an easier way to teach my child than the form learning or whatever you guys are doing, but I'm getting the same answer but not showing the work that you guys are doing in class, is she going to be telling it off because I am not doing it the way that you guys are doing it?
It is not our plan to send work home that is going to conflict like that. Now, I know in the spring it's a little different because we have to get the materials out. But we're teaching the math at school. It's totally different, and I know you're thinking,
Yeah.
number bonds. I'm like, why do you have to do a silly number bond? It's conceptual.
Yeah.
I don't get math. I am one that has to look at it. And it's all about concept. What they learn in kindergarten, I promise, it comes back in fifth grade. And it builds a bond. So we are going to do our best.
I have to be in school too. Like, I have to learn this all over again, just to be able to teach my second grade. I work down at 7:30 to 5 o'clock every day.
And that is why I have tried to be very strategic about our schedule and make sure, even in the upper grades, we're studying social studies and science.
Okay. I think there was another couple of questions.
I don't have my glasses on, and I can't see, so I keep fogging up, so I can just.
In regards to Wednesday, when and how are y'all gonna notify people who's supplied everything that you needed for that, and that's whether they've been accepted or not, because we're just a few weeks out, and if my boss is not gonna cover that day, that completely changed whether or not I might have to go virtually, so.
Let me help you with that right now. As of this, tomorrow is the deadline for application. And, this afternoon, yes, as of this afternoon, we have 145 students that signed up for K-5 meetings. Mr. Drew and I have worked on staffing, and we feel like we can take an excess of 300. So far, everybody that's applied is in. If there's one day to go, that's looking pretty good.
Thank you.
With that being said, what about parents that can't apply? Because I'm just going to job. About that, they can't apply, they run this over now, but I want to go get it. Well, can I sign my kids up to come on Wednesday, so technically, I have a job right now, so I'm gonna have to get teaching, are gonna have.
Everyone can fill out the application, and there's 4 questions on there. Employment is the first one. I think the second one is like, bills, they need bills, and we definitely know that we utilize our food service all the time that we close, so we know who's been participating in that. There was also a social emotional piece, and there was also math DLA. So the idea was if we got more applicants than we could handle, then it would be a ranking. Does that make sense? So you may not get as many score points on employment, but you would need to address the other questions.
I have a first grader, children in the first grade, which she would like to meet her teacher and wanting to know where she's going to be, so would like to meet that teacher.
I will put that on the list. I honestly, that has not been. Usually, I know.
If it's someone I know, like Heather or Kelly, I'm going to be the teacher, I don't know, I want to be.
Usually we do that when the first couple of days, everybody walks in, you just walk them down, take down the supplies, all of, that's different.
Yes.
But I will put that on there. My first priority is kindergarten, because those babies have never been to that school. They have never been, so I want, they're my first priority, is in orientation, because I want those kiddos to make sure that they are But I promise
And
you,
I want my child to feel comfortable
I
too, because
promise
she doesn't
you.
always do well at school.
I am going to send my teachers an email to see if there's something that they can work out. And
If she has a teacher that she's already familiar with, we don't start to her, she knows Taylor. But if it's someone she doesn't know, then I would. And the other things, are we gonna have after school? I know that's one of the, but that would be a thing. Gotcha.
It's Karen. Have you ever considered having your teachers wear the clear face shields so they can be seen better?
glad you brought that up. My first thing, do you think I want to wear a mask? You know what I want to do all day? No, you can't put your mask over your eyes. No, you can't put it on your chin. No, you can't take your mask and give it to your friend. No, you can't put it on your knee. No, you can't put it on your neighbor's knee. No, you're not swinging it around. Been there. Okay. You know what I mean? We're trying to teach foundational skills. And this is what, you have no clue what I said. There are clear masks. They are surgical masks, especially for maybe if you're having surgery and you can't hear very well, you can read the lips. That was my first thing. I'm teaching kids how to read, and they can't see my lips. They can't see my mouth. They can't see there's a placement. So I'm going to get some ear-use surgical masks. Guess what? They're on back. Thought about those as well. That was a conversation, and we may come back to it. We talked about the ones that come up here, not the ones that come over here, because if I take this off and I still have the one that comes over here, everything while I'm telling you coming right out. So it defeats the purpose. But there are some that come this way. I'm just not familiar with that. But I thought about that, absolutely.
I'm more concerned about the virtual days. Most parents work all day, so how is that gonna look like for us trying to get the work done, but not having to come in an afternoon or evening, or we're gonna have to have somebody log on to the computer or do paperwork with them? How does the virtual day do that, especially because I have a kindergartner, so he's never gonna even get this before, so I'm just concerned how virtual days are gonna go and how I need to base my work around virtual days.
Talk to me about when you say virtual. Are you talking about going
The
to
days that we're not going to school.
to learn from home days?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, learn from home days, what grade?
Kindergarten.
Kindergarten. Kindergarten is strictly academics. So those days would be, remember, I'm teaching the foundational skills too, so that you're not going to have to teach that foundational skills. So we will take care of that, we will take care of that, there may be some practice with manipulatives, but those are the learn from home days. Those days will be structured, and we have different schedules. They may have an hour of foundational skills. That's where they're practicing what they learned on Monday or Tuesday. And then they may have, I'm trying to think of the schedule that I have up here. Then they may have math. So they may be practicing like numbers in kindergarten. They may be practicing with just counters. And they will still have their PE, they will still have lunch, they will still have their recess, but those days will be more practice. You won't have to get on the internet to do anything, but if you want to, there will be some additional things for them to do.
So if we don't want to get on and do it on, like, do it online, how do we get on it?
Because he will then come in
The packet and the packet will come with
we can just do it whenever we have the time to, it's not that we have to put it in, we gotta do it. Okay.
Their lunches,
Will they be in the classrooms?
The lunches will be in the classrooms.
okay, are you serving one thing or serving more?
I am not in charge of food service, I would have to.
We will only have one offering each day. What we're gonna do is take our menu, and the cafeteria managers are working on what the favorite things are at each school. So what the favorite thing is, Miss Monroe's school, the number one thing they like is the chicken leg.
Chicken leg.
But in the high school, their number one thing is something else. So it'll be based on the school, and it will be one thing, and we're gonna try as hard as we can. The menu won't change, you know. The only problem we're gonna have is that there's a supply chain problem sometimes. So if we were saying we were gonna have green beans, and all of a sudden we can't get green beans, it may be another bean. But we're gonna try to hold to the menus, and you'll know exactly what they're gonna have. Then in the afternoon, they're gonna take food home for the next day. So you'll actually have food for, if they come on Monday, they'll have food for Tuesday to take home with them. Anybody else got a cafeteria question or a food question? Yeah,
My child has allergies.
we will know that, we know that. Yeah. If as far as allergies or anything like that, it'll be the way it's always been.
What is kindergarten first day drop off going to look like? Not only is our child new to school, we are new to Southside County, so we're not familiar with how it all works going through the system.
I would love to be able to roll out an answer, but I'm just gonna be, I don't even know. It's, that's, yeah, okay. But don't think that we haven't thought about this. Okay. Okay, more questions? Everybody got a question? What is it?
Okay, so there's like a little smaller, because they don't understand. Keeping it, I know that, you know, I was told that they were getting kind of like, the older kids, K-5 or K-12, you know, they get kind of like, discipline kind of thing, where they turn around. Are you gonna handle with the pre-K? Because
And this is not just pre-K, because this is every grade level, and every grade level. But we are also social distancing. That's why Mr. Mahal, thank you so much for sharing those desks, so that we can spread them out, so they don't have to have those with their class.
and then like the teachers, like speech and speech, so they'll have a speech teacher come into the classroom, I mean, that's.
Depending, yes, we are still offering those services, and it may be, I'm trying to think, we're looking at pushing in K through 2, pulling out something maybe on Wednesdays, 3 through 5. So, yes.
And, you said you had to keep them separated, so, like in kindergarten, how's that, are we gonna use this? Meet their teachers?
Kindergarten, yes, we are doing pre-K. I cannot exactly, I'm not over pre-K, I don't know. But, did you write that down?
Yeah. You talking about keeping the teacher?
Yes. Pre-K, I don't have an answer.
We've got pre-K persons down here.
Did I get everything?
Are you taking them as they're walking into the building or after they come into the classroom? Because if you're already in the classroom and then have a temperature.
We're gonna have to have some help from the parents. We've never sent a sick child home, but we are gonna temperature screen. We're all on temperature screen just as soon as they get in the classroom.
That's I mean, we are working with the best that we can. People give their kids, go to them and send them on Skype.
So keep masks on maybe until temperature
Yes.
checks.
Because they don't have.
Couple questions, not really confused for everyone. How will justify having this schedule instead of football, which is contact sport? And I talked to a lot of people in this room, and we all agree that nobody's saying anything, and you know, I have a lot of kids up here. What am I going to do, slow down and teach them? I don't have anybody. It was suggested by Mr. Satterfield, Dr. Satterfield, sorry. It was suggested that their grandparents teach them. They don't have grandparents. You knew my mom, she died. I had no help. And a lot of these people have no help. They're single moms with no help. This is an asinine schedule, and it's not going to work. And it's not working for my children, and I know it's not going to work for everyone else I talk to. And this is just a portion of the people I talk to, because I have a petition going.
How do you justify having a band?
You can't have that social distancing.
How can you justify? I don't,
Why are we here?
how do you justify?
No question. She's the elementary principal.
No, that's what I'm saying, was it for her, but we're here, I mean, every question I had to be shot down, and I haven't texted from everyone else that was at the meeting the other night, and everything we have asked is shut down because you made your mind up. Yes, I'm upset. You're getting government funding, $400 per child next year.
I'd like to know how we're gonna discipline, or what type of discipline will be in place with mask, mandates, and things like that, in certain areas aren't followed.
Either in kindergarten, if it's different in elementary, different in middle, different in high school. There wasn't real clarified the other day, so I hope we have clear clarification.
The failure to wear a mask is at the lowest level on the student disciplinary procedures, it's a level 1 discipline. So,
I don't have that memorized, so what does that look like if you catch a kid that's not wearing a mask?
warning, counseling, you know, really getting.
Counseling, and this, so there's not gonna be disciplinary action as far as suspensions, things like that.
Well, I mean, I don't know what grade you're talking about, obviously,
Middle and high school, I'm sorry for most.
middle and high school, you know, we know that younger children have more difficulty wearing masks. Like Mr. Drew's talking about the same, that kind of thing. The older you get up, the more they can self-regulate to wear a mask. So obviously, if you're talking about upper grade students and they continue not to wear a mask, then on level 1 could progress all the way up to a level 4, which would be an expulsion.
So they will be expelled over a mask wearing.
If someone decided they weren't going to wear a mask,
I mean, yeah.
I mean, if they were blatantly not trying to wear a mask, it could get to that. Yes, ma'am.
I have one more question. I'm sorry I didn't ask you all when you were up here. The checking in on each day is through this, and I know that's kind of a work, you're not really going to have to, you're going to send them work in elementary, middle school, and high school. Are they going to be required to check electronically every day?
Yes.
And are they going to be logged on how many hours they're logged onto that computer, or just simply checking in at some point during that day?
Should be a checking, but like I talked earlier about attendance flag, you know.
Right.
Example, the child has got a Chromebook, they're not here at home, they do a small assignment on their home day, they come to school, it syncs back up. It could be 2 days later, if they have our school on Thursday, we'll back to the Monday. So there's gonna be lagging issues with attendance and stuff like that.
If they have a technical issue with their computer and they're at home alone by themselves.
Right. Yeah, there's not-
There's not gonna be any disciplinary action.
No, that's not, obviously, we can discover students and every issues like that.
All right, thank you, Mr. Drew. Yes, ma'am. We will move on then, to our director's report. Dr. Shepherd, with our employment notification.
If you could, at this stage, like, but you have that in your packet, in your electronic packet. But the main thing you got on your employee is our non-certified, returning non-certified. And I think that there's only 2 employees thus far that we have not been able to place that was with us last year. So we feel like it's pretty good. Our response from our employees is we're good, and we're getting everybody hired and placed. We've still got to work with our substitute teachers, so they're coming in from the organization. reading the letters. It's hard to follow the principles. I think they've done an excellent job explaining the language and what's taking place in their schools. Just overarching is that our school, our principals have developed their master schedules. They work on those all summer. I also hear from our principals that their student schedules are complete. Not only do we have student master schedules, we have students placed in classrooms with teachers, maybe except for a couple of kindergartners.
Everybody has a place.
Right. Talked to Mr. Hodler today. He's progressing really well on the transportation schedule. We've got to book some bus drivers and work with some addresses, but that is progressing really well. I hope that you heard our principals talk about prioritizing instruction. They're doing what they have, and they continue to do a lot of work with their instructors. And you hear that about what do we do in the face-to-face learn from school, and then deciphering that and deciding what can be done at home. So I thought they did a real good job of saying that learn from home day is a practice day. It's things that students can do. That is a good time for a volume of writing and a volume of reading, to do a volume of math, fluency practices, those types of things. But I thought your early principals articulate really well. It's not a day where you have to be the teacher. That's not what we're doing. But we're working with our teachers to be sure that they say these are the necessary things that cannot be done at home. And I'm prioritizing instruction to be sure that's done on that face-to-face day. The optional Wednesday, we picked that up. That's progressing well. Unless something changes, we're going to have plenty of room for the parents who need that. One of the things, Ms. Adcock is not here. She actually did a great job. She had some questions, and I asked her to send me an email. And that prompted a staff meeting, I think the very next morning. But one of the things that we were able to do, and Ms. Applewood was the key to make that work, is I can give lunch to all three schools on the Wednesday. Appreciate you. We just got to be versatile, and she helped us a lot of that. But any student with an IEP will be able to receive face-to-face instruction at their school on that optional Wednesday. So that would certainly layer on a significant level of support where they'll be working with their special ed teacher on that day. So that's important. If you are new to the county and you haven't already, you can go to our website. We have a new student registration form.
We already filled out the kindergarten.
Awesome. Okay, good deal. It's online. You know, try to reduce the paper, pencil, you know, and the transfer and documents, that kind of thing. Our teachers are presently involved in in-service at the individual schools. And on the day that our teachers come back, on July the 27th, 28th, and 29th, you know, we have a plethora of state trainings, mandatory trainings. I think you said there's about 7 of those. And Ms. Applewood has got all of those online. So we don't have to bring our staff together, and they can do all those trainings online. So that we feel like that'd be a lot safer. I hope you heard your principals talk about grades 3 and up. It's really important for us to get those Chromebooks in the hands of the teacher, in the hands of the student, beginning on the very first days of school, and that we practice using the learning management system in the classroom, and that we will practice the student and the teacher interacting face to face, and then on the days when they learn from home or they're doing digital learning. it's important that we are able to practice that over a period of time in case we get to a school closure. I don't know what would necessitate a school closure, but I do know this, and every one of our staff members know this, that the State Department was telling us in March how to stay open on Friday and giving us guidelines. By 10 o'clock on Monday, they were telling us to close. So we know that those directions can change at the drop of a hat. We also know that infection rates and also staff illnesses could necessitate a closure at any time. So it's important that we work together to be able to balance in-person and digital learning in a blended environment. The best way I can describe it is this. I got a GPS and I'm going to Nashville and I don't know where I'm going and I'm on the interstate and I don't know if I got to take a left or a right or where the road is. So Misty, what I usually do, stay in the middle lane, right? And then he tells me to take a left, I jump over one lane. He tells me to take a right, jump over the right lane. That's exactly what we're trying to do. We're trying to run in the middle. Nobody has a crystal ball. We don't know how this thing's going to play out. But if it goes to our wishes, then we can move into full-time traditional work. But if infection rates get worse, something makes us close immediately, we can flip the switch and go distance learning.
You think it's rare in counties are wrong with full-time?
I don't.
And have you consulted with NC or their training?
Absolutely. Yes, yes, ma'am.
Do you think they're wrong, or?
It's not for me to judge.
They have a different plan?
Yeah, that's not for me to judge.
Do you think that's what's best for us?
Yes, ma'am.
Is to just stay, you know,
Right, ma'am. If you notice, we came up with Sumner County, I didn't know this, but, you know, they basically have the same thing, and then they voted last Tuesday night to go to the blended learning, the start school blended learning all this way. They had every teacher going at 100%. And just, you know, they made that change.
do you think they're increasing from the survey to the parents, what they would have? Because we didn't have it.
Yeah, I can tell you. Now, what we did is we sent out surveys.
To students.
To students.
The students can't make the decision because the students are going to be teaching themselves.
We're not going to let them speak, are we?
You don't let anybody else speak?
If you signed up to speak,
I sure hope I am on the list.
then you're gonna have your chance.
Yeah, you shut me up every time I talk to you, you did the same thing the other night.
I never talked to you before.
You know what, I wish that survey.
We sent surveys to students on the last week of school, somewhere in May. We sent surveys to students, to teachers, and families. And the questions were not ever about how you want to reopen schools. That's not it. But what was in there was very important information about how did your learning experience go? What recommendations would you have? We had many open-ended questions, and we had quite a few responses. We also broke that down by school, and each school got their own survey results. And from that feedback, we have tried to develop a back-to-school plan. Here's what I heard, just off of it, that the distance learning that we did in the spring was terrible. And I'm not my child's teacher, and I gotta have a break. And kids need to be back in school, and they need to be face-to-face with their teachers. I think we're all saying that. But the issue is, if we don't play this thing smart, we're gonna be right back where we were in the spring, and that's not good for kids.
I think what I just don't understand is how so many districts around us have the same footprint that they had prior to the shutdown, and they're still able to return 5 days a week. You know, are they not social distancing?
They cannot social distance
But
going
how is
back.
it that they're?
I'm not gonna judge another district.
Then I have no other choice than to do that. Said that we didn't receive an updated survey request asking what
because it's not been an educated decision on the board's part, by taking into account what everybody else has done.
We have gone by every piece of guidance that the state and the Center for Disease Control is doing. Everything that we're doing is by the Centers of Disease Control.
I'm not saying that's wrong, I'm not saying that's wrong, I'm just wanting to know, you really not see the difference in the survey that was sent out prior to, in the spring versus returning to school, that might have been a difference in your education about what's happening, as parents change their part or personal choice. I just feel like if you all are elected, right, I just feel like we should have been giving opportunity, just like every other district that may or may not be making a mistake, gave their community and their parents.
We did not send a survey
Right.
about which plan that one would prefer. But we gave invaluable data and information from 3 sectors of people about what is in the best educational interest of children. And from that, yes, and from that, you don't think the learner's opinion should count?
No. So as children, my son's a straight A student, will enroll him this year, but I trust him at this age to make educated decisions for himself.
Well, that's why we have
I'm the
a
one that has to
survey.
take
We have
consequences.
a student survey to see what the students say. We survey our students every year. So we have a student survey, a teacher survey, a family survey. And you look at it, you weigh each one of those.
It's just not about an opinion. They're on different topics that are maybe a little less effective to their education. This is a very big deal. I'm very worried about students falling behind.
We always
I'm the
will.
one that has to pay for a tutor to catch them up. I'm also the one that has to stay at home to educate them myself. I'm the one that has to make up for the lack of the education. So I think we should just. Yes, Mr. Ware.
There was a 70-30 ratio in Austin County, 70% of their children back 5 days ago. That's a big.
That's a big knowledge.
It may be, but here's what I'm saying is, we based our decision based on science and best evidence.
But the CDC has been inconsistent.
It's very inconsistent.
The state guidance tells us to refer to CDC guidelines. No, I'm telling you, that's what I'm saying.
You have guidelines that you have to go by, that's completely. But you do have to understand that CDC has been very inconsistent this whole time. And we did at the end of last year, everybody had to wonder what was going on then, but I do think that there should have been some kind of poll or option for us to at least have a voice at that time. At the end of the school year, we all just informed and made what happened happen. But this was an option where we actually could have had a little more of a voice in saying what was going to happen with our children, long run, short run. Either way, praise the Lord, I think everything's going to work out for me, regardless of which you choose. I would love to see my son every day of the week, because he's very socially with people. That's fine. But for the people that are going to lose jobs because of this, people are going to lose their homes. It's affecting the adults that in turn affects the children's home as well.
And I understand, but my job is to protect the safety of our staff and our students and balance that to provide our students with the highest quality education services that we can do.
This is the
That's
high
what I have
the
to do.
governor's task force would have shut down those other schools. Thank you. 5 days a week. Thank you.
How is it justified having football and all other social programs when you can't even send?
I'm not justifying.
You're on yes football. Yes, you are. That's what you're about. Yes. Everybody's doing that. Can I move on then? I'm holding my hand. No, but not at all. I think it's.
We don't even know if they're half football.
Okay, we're not having a problem.
I have a comment, in reply to what you were saying. There is actually not the CDC guidelines, it's not what all the surrounding counties were using to go by and not what he went by. There is a 44-page document that the educators in Tennessee and a group of superintendents made. And that was what all the surrounding counties, all the counties in Tennessee were to use to decide. And that's what they all used to decide, whether they used it to use as their opening plans or not was up to them. But it was not the CDC guidelines, it was a 44-page document that I've actually read the majority of. And that's what he used to go by, and that's what all the rest of them were supposed to use to go by.
But that document doesn't say that we don't get a voice, we shouldn't have had an option.
I'm just answering her question about where they made the decision from, and y'all were talking about the CDC guidelines. That was not what they wanted. The Tennessee Department of Education had a set of, I forgot exactly, around 12 superintendents, I think, somewhere like that. And they wrote up a 44-page guideline, and they suggested all of the surrounding counties, all of the counties were supposed to use those guidelines to determine what their plans were. And the plan that he put out with the 3 different options that you've seen on a lot of the websites was what they put out. And they gave them the basics of what you were supposed to go by. And if you read it, we did go by what they suggested. Most of the counties actually did not go by the guidelines. If you read that document, most of the counties did not go by it. If you read it by what it says, most of the surrounding counties did not use it. So, I mean, technically, my point is, he did do what the guidelines say. Most of the counties did not go by what the Tennessee Department of Education put out. It's not the
County is
CDC.
gonna make everybody happy, but I do think the all-time virtual or full-time traditional is a lot more of like a 50-50 situation of the home front than doing what we are, which is pretty much.
I'm just saying, I was just making the point, I mean, we're supposed to be doing all this for something, but I'm just saying, like, I wanted to correct, because that's where he got what he did, that's where everybody was supposed to go by, and if you read it, like I did, that's where he got what he did, and he did do what he said. Some of them
They're
did
not
not.
choose. Y'all have a hard decision, so.
No, and it's hard to go, you know, when you have a popular decision, a popular, opinion, like you have, God. It's hard, we do weigh that, but our ultimate goal is the safety of our students and our staff. And that's what we have to base our decision on. And, it's going to be, could be different, you know, than what most people think. We have to think about when it's school. You know, the social distance, I think, is the key in our plan. That if everybody opted to go 5 days, let's say everybody opts to go 5 days a week, then there goes our social distance. That's what, so that's what our plan is based on. And so, yes.
I don't know how many of you in this actually had COVID. I'm an honest guy. I got diagnosed April 22nd. April 24th, they were performing live measuring, to save me. Okay, my daughter is a nurse. She got called in, and I know you all remember when Dallas and the nursing home was sent. Okay, she got called in to work on that floor. She got home to work on the floor. She works for 3 physicians. She had this full PPE, the full. Guess what she brought home to our house? It wasn't no prize. It was the COVID. And guess what? If it's in your household, one person did. She stayed locked in her room, and I should have threw her in the door like she was prison. But guess what? I got it, like the guy. My husband got it, like the guy. I don't know what the right decision is here. I don't. I have a grandson that's going to start kindergarten pretty soon, and I'm going to tell you, Mr. Drew probably have to hang him up by the bootstraps because he's just wild as a bug there. He's smart, but he's wild as a bug there. I want him to be safe. I want him to be able to go to school and be safe, or go stay at home and be safe. Everywhere I take him, I put a mask on, so he's already gotten accustomed to his mask. And I'm not saying that anybody in here is right or anybody's wrong. I know everybody's opinion. I see every aspect of everybody's opinion. But COVID scares me. You know, they say you can't get it twice, and now they say you can get it twice. You know, so it scares me. And I understand as the board and as the director and as you principals up there, I know you all, I served and worked for Mr. Kerr for many years. Worked for Mr. McCall for a few, or I got shipped back to Mr. Kerr. And I know they all care about these kids. They're not doing anything. I don't think they have an agenda against your child at all. They don't have a Jeanette out here, child. I can speak for Mr. Drew, I've heard some of this here. They don't have it out just to make it hard on you or hard on the child, I promise. Again, I don't know what the right answer is, as I had me before our office, smoking me a cigar somewhere. That's how rich I be. I don't know what the right answer is. I don't. But I do know that I think we gotta be versatile and do 50-50. I mean, we've got to meet halfway.
Madam Chairman, just in conclusion for is, we have a responsible use policy. If you remember, if your students had a Chromebook, we had a Chromebook pickup day, and you come to the schools and pick them up. You did a great job returning those Chromebooks, you did an awesome job. But we want to try to get those out in the first few days of school. The principals want to make sure that you sign that responsible use policy so we can pass them out. Starting on Monday, we're looking for that, we're going to put that responsible use policy online. And you need to read it and just print the signature page, right? It prints the signature page and then brings that back. Then we can get you a Chromebook on the very first days of school. We are in development, and a lot of these things are still cooking, we've still got a little bit of time. But we're developing a learn from home virtual school handbook right this time, and we'll put that online. I'm going to answer a lot of the questions that you have about electronic devices and the digital aspects of learning. We will also, this is a major project for us, but we are developing a Trousdale County educational plan, and it will address specific things for each of the 3 schools. It will address transportation. It will address food service. Some of the questions you have about attendance. We're in the process of trying to generally address all the questions that you have in a document that you can see. All our people are working on that right now. We also have to have that document basically approved by the State Department before we start school. So there's a timeline on that. We're working frantically to get that done. Madam Chairman, the last thing I have to report is the middle school roof project has been slow, but we have our first construction meeting on Monday. So we're ready. They've been doing some work on the roof, trying to decide where they're going to put the trusses and that type of thing. But we're going to have our first construction meeting on Monday, and that'll be the kickoff of that project. If you haven't seen the elementary sidewalks, they're lovely and much improved from the trip hazards that we've experienced over the last couple of years. We're glad to get that done, and we thank y'all for appropriating the funds to get that done. You heard Mr. McCall talk about that we have put thumb lock, automatic quick locks on all our classrooms. We replaced them at the high school, and we also put them in the middle school along with new doors, new security doors that doesn't even have the glass. So there's solid doors. And that's what they recommend in schools. So we got the roof going, sidewalks are clean, high school's got automatic push button locks, and the middle school have got new classroom doors and locks. So our facilities are moving along well, and we're getting ready for the beginning of the school. Any questions from me?
Dr. Shackle, I have a question. On the Wednesday school, is there any way that the middle school and the high school can also have students come if they need to?
We're going to
Or,
have,
I mean, that way they would have a 3-day instructional day instead of 2.
yeah, it's a staffing issue for us, but one of the things that you heard me say that we went back and worked now is we're going to be able to accommodate our special ed students face to face on that Wednesday in grades kindergarten all the way through 12.
Well, if you have room for, some more of the students, can they be accommodated also?
We can explore that, but I will say that would be difficult because of the staffing that we do not have at the middle and high school. So we've got,
How is it a staffing issue? If you had the money, how come is there?
no, it's not, it's because we have a lot of educational assistants at the elementary school that can help us. I think Mr. McCall has one, and you have like 2 or 3. Right, so we just don't have the personnel at the other schools that we have at the elementary.
I would like to consider it.
Well, I mean, we have to
I
see.
would like for you to think a little bit further.
Do you anticipate how many students that would
Well,
encompass?
no, I know, you might do it, you might find out, but I mean, I think if we students, I understand IEP, I truly understand that, but I think there's more students in the middle school and high school that might want to go on that third day and get that instruction time, and they deserve it.
Okay, if you could help us or help me, like, try to find out how many of those people would be, to see if we have the staff to do that.
Y'all let me know, I'll be glad to. I see a question here.
Hi, I'm new,
Welcome.
My question is, why do you do the optional virtual and an optional private? Because I work in Wilson County, don't know if you know what the bases are.
Yeah, I think the best way to explain that is if you look behind you, these are the desks that we've taken out of classrooms
Okay, now let me
for
ask
social
you,
distancing.
what's the difference in that and people when playing football together, hockey together, hang on before y'all get four. But what's the difference in that? Because you're going to take care of one of your friends' house.
We can't control that.
Exactly.
You can't exactly,
But you can't, I actually lose my job. I work a lot of 2 a.m. to 2 p.m., a lot of 4 a.m., 4 p.m. I am screwed if I lose my job because of the 3 days. When I turn my paperwork in, I need a letterhead in my home office in Pennsylvania. Guess what? We're working from home. Yes, it's not. I'm not. I'm not working from home, one time. I missed one day.
you understand the impact this is having on people? You don't have small children, these people have small children. This is a big impact
Yes, ma'am.
on these families.
Yes, ma'am.
You need to.
Yes, ma'am, I can try.
You're not, but you're not.
But if we do not handle this way, if we end
If we don't look, then you're like, all or nothing, that's worth looking at, but this is not a.
You see,
I think, I want the things in the spirit of you know, I like saying that I am not. We're going to run out for a second.
oh, but you talk about
And I
football.
should just leave the next time. Okay.
You reference football. All of our athletics are going by what TWSAA is allowed. We're going by the TWSAA regs. And right now, they can't work out, they can't even touch each other. So I don't know if they're gonna be able to play football, volleyball, band, or whatever, but we are letting our extracurricular activities work within the framework of the governor's executive orders, 38 and 50, and TWSAA guidelines. We will continue to do that. But one of the things that the board has passed in a new board policy is that anytime our schools are closed, that all extracurriculars will be closed as well, just like we did during flu season. So I don't know, I mean, we're gonna try to stay open, what we can do as many things as we can for our students, but if we have to close, we'll be closing every activity.
There's 5 seniors that come in to see, so they're just gonna split, my son included, he said, Mom, I can't do it. Thank you for that. Thank you, because my senior son, she has been out all the time for that day. That's good.
I have a question. Is there an increase or decrease in state, local, or federal funding associated with this hybrid model? Is there a difference in the funding in your state, local, or federal?
We have no indication that there is. But our plan has to be approved by the state
Right.
in order
But they've not made it clear that there are any increases or decreases in federal funding. Like, is there any cost savings associated with doing this proposed hybrid plan to the school at all? Has anybody projected
Not
any
that I
cost
know of.
savings?
We're paid by AD every day we go to school. So how many students are enrolled in school?
Well, I can answer that. I can answer that because I read it today. There is $300 per child, $300 per child that is COVID virus, that is funding. Am I correct?
I don't know what you're looking for. We receive,
Yes.
we receive, through federal funds called CARES.
Yeah, I know where it is.
And we received $238,000 and so on cents. And over $200,000 of that we used to buy new programs.
So to your all's knowledge, there's not a significant difference in funding whether kids are in school, out of school.
Without, I mean, as long as we're educated and they're on our road, average daily membership, we will receive funding.
So you'll receive funding for the check-in on the days that they're out.
That's, yes,
They receive funding, but they're getting bigger, so that's just food for thought. I'm just trying to get as clear of a picture as I can on how to
Well,
do it.
hopefully, Congress is talking about another.
Right, that was my next thing.
And so there may be more money coming down the
Has
pipe.
our district applied for or submitted an application yet for the Stafford Act that?
we're in the process of that.
So that's 75% of all costs associated, so if we needed, or some child did fall behind, and they needed some extra, or you needed to hire extra people to go 5 days a week, that's money that can be reimbursed, those are part of the qualifying
It's
things.
a reimbursement for
But
it.
it is a qualifying expense in those acts and in those grants and that funding to be reimbursed if you hire more people to go either 5 days or to have one-on-one time with struggling students. That is an option if that's something that you choose to do.
But we don't know if that, how much we would receive. We have made an
Well, you would
application.
decide what you needed. You would submit that cost, and they would reimburse 75%.
Well, we would have to spend that money first
Of course,
in
it's
order
not
to
fine.
be reimbursed.
So is it an issue that we don't have it to do upfront?
I just think there's a lot of uncertainty around the staff of that fund. We have made an application,
Okay.
but they won't, so they have not given us any guidance whether we will give those or reimburse the things that we've done already. We spent a lot of funds with food service, providing food to students.
That's the normal students, though, right?
Which all the
Normally
students
have
that
that
we have
during
already
the
in.
normal school year.
So all the students we have already.
During the normal school year, though, right? Not
No,
in the
I'm talking about during the COVID closure.
Where they
this
would
spring.
normally be going to school and be there. Right?
They would
You
have,
invested money into that food that you already had to invest money in.
but I get a reimbursable meal of about $3 and something cents, only when students eat. So we go from feeding about 1,100 students a day to about 380 students a day. We do the math on that.
So you're
Wow.
spending.
While we're trying to keep all of our employees on payroll. So it doesn't take long to do the math.
I'm
That
just
you're
saying, I
part of
would
the
this
function,
board
they're
would look
really
at
doing it.
hiring or doing things that will benefit the student. Computers is a great thing. Thank you very much for doing that for a lot of people who can't afford that. It's gonna make or break a lot of people's education. But I really hope that at some point, if you're worried about a staffing issue for going 5 days a week, that you really take into consideration the funds that are currently available to you for application and the ones that are coming down in the months to come, and look at hiring those people so that we can go back 5 days.
Please let me state, if the Stafford funds are not assured, they're reimbursable funds. You would have to expend those funds
Yes,
before
you have to show
you
the
even
plan.
have a chance. And
Yes.
another thing is that the Stafford Act is activated because the president called the area a state of emergency.
Right, which is why we're going 2 days.
And I mean, they need it. But what I'm saying is, but the president can also pull that emergency back at any time. And the Stafford Act
So you
begins
need
to.
to apply soon and do those budgets ahead of time and forecast, not be scared, but foresee where you need to go and get there.
We
Don't
would have
sit and
to
wait.
hire personnel. We would
Yes,
have to
which
expend
is how
funds.
alternates work. Yes.
with that extend funds
Yes.
and hope that this application is still open
Correct.
to get those
Which
reimbursements.
currently has no end date, just been done.
But it could be stopped tomorrow. And
It
we're
could.
prepared.
It could. And I'm pretty sure that if you go ahead and get those plans in place, do the things you need to do, apply for the grant, there are other things.
There's not applying for a grant. We are already enrolled in the staff. We have a code.
So you have all of that stuff.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have somebody that works on that specifically?
We have about 6 people in our office, and we wear a lot of hats. The finance director, myself, have been doing it.
Okay, great. But I just wanted to bring that one.
But let me also aware, you talk about staffing, there's another thing, is space.
Space, cleaning
I mean, what we would have, in order to get social distancing, not only would we have to have more staff, we would also have to have more classrooms.
But just the same, that you don't know when the deadline's gonna end, you don't know when the restrictions are gonna be lifted up. You don't know when they're gonna go from.
I'm just trying to get a roof at the middle school.
5 feet to 4 feet.
I'm just trying to get a roof at the middle school. How long do you think it would take to build a classroom?
I'm not trying to deflect and change the subject, I'm just saying, let's see my point, that we can only do with what we have. If we can't project this, if we can't project this either, it
I want you to
it
know,
can change on both sides.
I want you to know, we have worked frantically and intentionally going by CDC guidance. The only way that we can do social distancing is we've got to reduce the amount of people that's in the classroom, or we've got to build more space. And I don't think building space right now is an option. But
Okay, two things. I agree with what y'all do, trying to do. If you want my CDC, like she said, my faith, great. Would I want my students to go 5 days a week? Yes. It's not people right now. I agree. You also got to think, also kind of maybe going full time, but what happens right now? Because COVID's been pushed so far outside, we don't know what the correct number is, we don't know what the wrong number is, we don't know exactly. I see it's been pushed way far, and it is bad to see, very bad to get, very bad. But it's been pushed so far, we don't know. So you don't want to go full time, let's say 4 or 5 kids come in, not knowing don't have fever at that moment. But they go in on it class, they're all over what they're doing. Now they're passing around. It's I'm getting where he's doing, I agree with, because he's trying to protect the student, it's 100%. And also got other, these full-time did have a pandemic in that school, guess what, the state's gonna come down. They're gonna come down to that school, with the boys, I mean, shut everything down, the kid had nothing else. Now, I want your child to play football. There's a lot of kids out here, they're in bad homes, I think there's bad homes, that's their getaway. But I want to make sure, because the state hasn't even said they're gonna have it or not gonna have it. So he can't say, hey, they're playing football, they're not playing football. But they're gonna allow football, but they gotta be able to do something. I don't see how you're gonna play football, full contact sport, and keep, you're gonna get sweaty, you're gonna be cramped, you're gonna be sweating away everywhere.
You're at a football field running plays, or if it runs.
No, I'm talking about they could actually play.
Well, yeah,
If you actually play another team, you wouldn't have it sweaty, you wouldn't have contact. But if you're just practicing, you keep social distance, that's not a big deal. I thought you're actually playing. That's where my issue is. We're not at that point. If our kids not going 5 days, we need to protect them. That's one of my concerns. Like I said, I agree with what you guys are doing. It's great. Because all the time maybe on full time, like I said, you get those 4 or 5 students come in and ain't showing something great at that second, they're going around passing on everybody else. Now you got a pandemic in school.
The board passed a policy this evening, instead of what in work session, what it said it would be on the policy manual probably by Monday. It's a COVID safeguard policy. And at the bottom of that policy, it says that when our schools are closed, all extracurricular sports, activities, everything is also closed to sort of hit some of those concerns that people are talking about.
But like I said, I want people, like I said, if I kids back home, maybe mistreated, that's their getaway from the football, from the sideline, extra.
Our kids,
And I don't want that, but we also take precautions. I mean, they can go practice all they want on their social distancing, I don't care, let them practice all day, they're outside anyway.
I feel good at our age.
My concern is you're actually gonna have football. You got no team from another school.
Yeah.
Two or three of their kids have it. Now they're about to pass on, boom, 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 now they pass on our kids. And then they go act.
Yeah, I think that's like step 100.
But I don't say that.
41.
Say that's not the same thing. We're saying.
So that's to be determined.
Well, then let's talk about that. So if a child contracts COVID that's in the school system, going on 2 days a week, and they have a positive COVID test, is protocol for us to go to our school correct so that they can do their correction? And then they have to quarantine for 14 days and then have another test as proof showing that they are now negative before they're allowed to come back, is that correct?
Kathy is our health coordinator. I think she may help us. Kathy, help me. I'll try to answer that if I'm wrong. Step in here. Is that upon notification that the student would be quarantined from school for 14 days, unless the parent decided that they wanted to get a COVID test, and only a negative test would allow them to come back to school. But during that time, they're going to learn from school. Learn from home. I mean, it's not like an expulsion or anything.
But is the rest of the students in that class, I'm not sure if.
That's what the nurse will have to determine the rate of exposure, who is exposed, the situation. But, CDC tells us to try not to close down the whole district for one infection, just try to find it. And if it's like this, the Drew talked to you about, if she has isolated that one cohort of students, we could quarantine that cohort, or maybe that grade, or maybe that student, without closing down the whole school.
That's right.
I've seen a lot of districts, there's one case in school, they're closing school down. Our goal is to minimize that by cohort, by grade, by school, try to minimize that if we can. We don't have any traces.
And another thing that we've done is we've hired on the board, graciously, thank you, they put in a nurse at the high school. We had an elementary nurse, and then we had a nurse that we shared between the middle school and high school. So we just hired an RN to service the high school. So now we have a nurse at each one of the schools to help support COVID's identification, prevention, those things. We're doing everything about that we can to protect the safety of our people. Now, we do have training to do as our staff comes back to the school. There's another way of training that we have to address.
One of the things, after class, school, they go home, and you have janitors that each one, they go in, kind of just like.
We've ordered these analyzers, and they put a chemical in there that called rejuvenol that we're using in our schools. We're using it with our sports teams and band right now. We're disinfecting the balls, that kind of thing. But that atomizer will actually go into that bus or that classroom and then just follow that classroom at the end of the day. And then all that dries by the time they come in that morning. So that's our disinfection program.
That's some more of that care, technology, in order to, that it eats that pretty quick.
Madam Chair, that's all I have.
All right, we will move on then to new business. And,
I do, just put that note, it's on the front page. This is very good.
Ms. Jackson, at our work session, asked if we would add the school reopening plan back to the agenda. And, we've got people that have signed in, I'm assuming that's what everybody has signed in for. So if we call your name and you have already made your point or talk, you can say that. If not, we're gonna just, if each person has 5 minutes, to come up and respectfully address, the board and let us know your thoughts. Is there anything we should do before that time? I'll just go ahead and call our people, is that okay? I'll just call you as you signed up, and the first one is Miranda Walls.
That's me, I pretty much said, okay, so I think that we can do all we say, you may return about this week, that's just my opinion.
Chris Sexton. You good? Okay. Then there's, is it Denby Morgan? You're okay? Jean Johnson? All right, Scott Owens? And then Janet Bowles. You can be right there. Yeah, and I'm, Ms. Jane, I'm just gonna set my time for the 5 minutes, but that's okay. You got that much.
I know I don't agree with a lot of y'all on the other person's feedback, but, I haven't said anything since the very beginning when they first put it out, but I do ask one thing. I have been quiet, I haven't spoken up, I haven't argued on social media, I have been very quiet about it, I have watched everybody else's opinions. And I've been respectful, so I ask you to be respectful of me and listen to me for a minute, and just keep your ears open and listen. Because everybody has been arguing, and I think that we don't need to be arguing. I did see someone post that on there today in the parent groups that we need to stop arguing or get section, and I think that is a good idea. Like I said, I did read over the 44-page thing, which was what we were supposed to be using, and I did kind of get an understanding of where they got the idea for what they did. And I also have looked at all the different plans and stuff. Part of the reason that I agree with it is partially what you said about the kids being in the dark in the spring, and that they do need to get an idea in case that we do get closed down. I know our cases are not astounding here. We did have it increase to 12 today, which is a lot for us anyway. But the biggest thing is if we, they were not going to do this, because we're going to be shocked at it on the side, but anyway. The biggest thing also is that our surrounding counties are going up a lot, and a lot of us work out in surrounding counties, and that is something that we're going to eventually get something, which is something I think is going to be possibly something. But the biggest thing that I think is a plus for this is something I'm not sure if everybody has realized. If we go traditional 5 days a week, we will have to, our kids will have to wear the masks all day in class. And I don't know if anybody has actually thought about that. But my personal opinion, I would rather my kids go the hybrid. And I do know that I understand completely sorry about parents having trouble and working and all that. I completely understand that. I totally do. And I don't have that problem now, and I know that's something difficult for me to say, but if I was in that position, I would still feel this way, 100% swear I would. But as far as wearing the mask, I do not want my kid to have to wear the mask all day long. I would rather them go and wear the mask on the bus, wear the mask at the door, and wear the mask in classes, and go to the park all the time, than to go 5 days a week and have to bring all the desks out in the classrooms and wear the mask all day. Because if we go all 5 days, that is what we're going to do. I have to wear a mask all day long in the classroom because of all the desk backing. So they're not going to go to the social distance in the classroom, so they're going to have a mask on all day. And I'm not sure if anybody really go that far. So that is the main thing. I kind of really second help. And I'm not sure everybody's thought of that. You really don't want your kids wearing the mask all day long. Because that and the fact that, at least this way, if they do get closed down, they will not be shocked and having to go vote. If they go for a really long time, and get some experience with it, and if the tradition doesn't do better, great, and if it doesn't, they'll at least won't be shocked if they don't experience. That's something different. But I wasn't sure, nobody, I wasn't there at the moment, I did watch it, I did watch that up, or not. I wasn't sure if people realized that the area was all that. That's a long time. I went to sounds and be a really good sound the other day. I wore the mask a really long time the other day, and it's really hard to wear it all It's really hard. I don't want kids from playing basketball. But I mean, so that's not it.
Thank you. That is everybody that was on our list. So at this time, we would, entertain a motion to,
Or see if, okay, any discussion on the, by the board.
I don't want to make a motion.
Hold on, they wanted to say discussion by the board. Are there any comments from the board?
I'd like to say something. I think we missed something here that it's everybody's.
Your time's up.
You know, everybody would love to go back to school. I hope and pray that we can get back into school just like normal as quickly as possible. You know, that's the goal of everybody. Everybody knows that everybody wants this, right there in a normal schedule, in a structured environment with a teacher. And there's no argument about that. The main thing is, how can we keep our kids in school as long as possible? Now, we could go 5 days a week, normal and stuff, but if you get an incident, they shut you down. You still got all those same babysitting and work and all those same things. Now it's for the whole school. Yeah, we pass this blended plan again, if we stay with it. If it gives us a better chance of staying in school longer, I'm not saying we won't get shut down, we probably will. Some class, hopefully, we can control it by just this class, or this grade level, or just the school. And we don't have to do the whole thing. But nobody knows that for sure. But one of the things that I have tried to think about, and I haven't heard a whole lot about it, is that the last thing I want on my conscience is a child, a student, a teacher, a staff member, a bus driver getting sick, God forbid dying, and that's our responsibility. We asked for that, come up here and do it, we have to make that decision. Y'all don't have to, you know, that's not on y'all, but we have to think about that, whether we like it or not. That's part of this. And that bothers me. And I worry about that, and I pray about that. And hopefully, it won't ever happen. Good Lord will. But we have to think about every little thing, and that's just the way it is. But my goal, and I think everybody's goal, is to get rid of this plague as quickly as possible, and get back to normal, and get our kids where they need to be, and doing what we need to do. That's all I've got to say.
Any other discussion from the board?
That's the only thing, this is for everybody. Our main goal is the kids' protection. Let's keep that as our goal, as kids' protection. Let's make it politically kind. Some people are tired. We've got enough stupidity with policies out there, we don't need it here. Let's just keep our kids in thoughts and prayers and keep it about them, not out there. And that's
You can answer that question. One of the things, we've been doing a lot of studying since March the 8th. And I can tell y'all, when we started, I said to Dr. Satterfield, how can we do this? How can we ever go 3 days a week? Because I know what it's like. I told him, I said, remember how we celebrated when we got our kids in school and we didn't have to pay daycare anymore? It was one of those big times that I remember. But the CDC tells us if we'll do this model, that we will have 80% fewer cases than those people that are going back every day with 100% in those buildings. To me, when you look at that statistic, that's a statistic that says we're trying to keep everybody safe, y'all. And I don't like it necessarily, and it's a whole lot harder for us to do this than it is for us to go back to regular school. You cannot imagine how many hours we have put in and will continue to put in to make sure children are safe. And that's what, like Johnny said, how would we feel if it was one of our people? And it's not just the staff and the students, it's also the grandparents and the parents and the little brothers and sisters that if somebody takes it home to them. So that's what we looked at, and we spent countless hours, I can't even tell you how many hours, trying to do this so that we can keep our community safe. There's been some talk about these other counties. What we're finding out is, a month ago, a bunch of people were going back to 100%. Now, one by one, they're saying, we don't think we can do it, and now they're telling their parents, oh, we're not gonna do what we said. Now you gotta find a babysitter. We did, we have been at the forefront. We did, y'all don't know how lucky you are to have Dr. Sheffield. And the fact that he's visionary enough to try to figure this out. So that's where, it's what we're doing for the kids and for the whole community to keep them safe.
And I'd like to add Kathy and all of our administrators as well, how thankful we are for you guys. We've been talking about this for a long time, and we're just now getting to vote on it again. But, one thing that strikes me about Trouser County and other counties and what they're doing is that we've always tried to do, I don't want to say this, but we've always done what was best, regardless of what other counties around us was doing. I mean, we put a lot of thought and planning into things, and I think we've made, as a board, good solid decisions, and hopefully you can trust us to make another one tonight. Is there any other discussion?
With all due respect, I would like to make a motion to reopen in 5 days, because I have spoken with multiple people that work at Fayetteville that have children, grandparents, and other people, the same age we're talking about, our students and our teachers that are on this city every day. And they can recommend that these children get back in school, because it's hurting more than helping, because they're not being able to socialize every day. And when they're not in school, they're out socializing every day. And the parents, grandparents, and kids are not wearing their masks out in public. So I would like to make a motion to reopen school for 5 days. I'm sorry, I'm wrong, but that's the way I want my message.
Ms. Jackson makes a motion then. Is that how we work the motion to register or school reopening plan of the file?
Reopen in 5 days.
And Madam Chairman, may I say something else? The Tennessee Healthcare Lady, that's pediatrician for our governor, she has 4 children, she's on full pediatrician, and she's sending her kids back to school.
All right. Any other discussion there? Yet we have a motion on the floor by Ms. Jackson to return to school on 5 days a week.
I catch this reopen using a 5-day plan.
Okay. All right. Do we have a second for that motion?
We vote.
Pass this.
It would be 5 days, that's what you're looking for, that's what you would be seconding.
Can I elaborate on that before y'all vote? I'm 100% agree with doing 5 days, but I'm understanding Sumter County is doing what we're talking about doing every other day.
But
Every 10th day,
they're gonna reevaluate.
they're gonna reevaluate. I'm saying this because y'all have spent all summer every night preparing to open school. I don't know how much money y'all have spent. If we do the 5 days right now, that's all we're wasting.
But that's what, I mean, that's what you're saying, right? But that's what I look at.
I came in here the other day when the men was on
Yep. I spotted it right away.
he made one comment, pretty much shut me. What are you gonna do when staff is, if you ever go on? I couldn't argue that.
We want to reevaluate, what we make the motion is, start the 2 day reevaluate. I think we have to go with this.
Ms. Jackson, we are constantly reevaluating whatever we do. Tim Different here, the health department, we are constantly in touch with him and the medical people, Kathy Applewood, our nurses. So our day, regardless of which plan we are in, we're going to be constantly looking at that and making decisions, and also looking at our staff illnesses, our student illnesses, no different than we would the flu.
I would ask to, just as it would be part of our board meeting each month. You know, that you would give, you know, in your director's report, if you would give us a report.
Yeah, focus.
Yes, each month, that would give us an update on numbers and, any measures, anything that, yes, that pertains to that
I
we,
think that's excellent.
so we could just add that under your director's report as well.
I just want to say, if it comes to a point though where it's a decision that maybe we need to do any kind of cultural capacity, the parents of the community, I think maybe even if you don't go with our decision, getting us involved may make us feel like we have a little bit of control over our own children.
Because that's what the board is. Okay. Now we have a, this motion on the floor.
Yes, the motion is to reopen using a 5-day plan by Ms. Jackson.
Right.
You have made one call for a second.
So do we have a second motion?
Somebody say,
All right, Mr. Crooks seconds the motion. So we will go to a full, board vote. Now, yes, Ms. McGowan, you're with us, right? Yeah, I've been checking on it. I haven't been texting my husband, I've been texting Ms. McGowan to make sure she's still on with it. And she's still on with it. And I do want to just clarify, as we go and we do a roll call vote, a yes vote is for the motion. If you're saying, yes, I'm gonna go back 5 days a week. A no vote is to stick with the current plan, which is our blended schedule. So is everybody ready to vote? Anybody have any other questions? Start down here on the table.
Yeah, let me see, Ms. Jackson make the motion.
Ms. Jackson makes a motion,
Crooks
Mr.
makes a
Crooks,
second. Okay.
and we will vote. Ms. Jackson? Your vote. Oh, I thought we were. No, that's her.
Yes.
Mr. Crook? Mr. Carter?
No.
Ms. McGowan? No. Walter, no. So the motion fails, yes. So we will be doing our plan that we've been working on, that we've got going,
With the hope we can get back to normal.
as soon as possible. As soon, yeah. Any other comments, questions we got, about this business? Are we done?
County analysis, vendor checks.
Yes, any other account analysis, vendor checks, expenditures, encumbrances? Anybody else got any questions on that? If not, then we would entertain a motion to adjourn. Mr. Cook always, Mr. Cook always makes that.
I always say that.
And Ms. Jackson will second that, and we are adjourned. Thank you very much. Ms. McGowan, thank you for joining us. Virtually. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. Thank you guys for coming here. We appreciate it.
Actually,